Well, today marks Armistice Day, commemorating the end of World War I and all of those who have died in armed conflict since 1918.
Well, across the country, the day is being marked with services and a 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. And the GB News national reporter Charlie Peters joins us now from Whitehall. Charlie, good morning. Tell us what you're seeing in the moments before the important commemoration.
Yes, good morning. Here there is an atmosphere really of quiet commemoration. It's just washed over the cenotaph over the last half hour or so as people prepare for that moment in the 11th hour. We could hear the bagpipes of the London Scottish Regiment around the corner warming up for the start of their commemorative display. I'm joined now by Nigel Farage, leader of the Reform Party. Nigel, a lot of people, I suppose, are wondering why we do this again. Remembrance Sunday and then Armistice again. Yeah. Talk us through it.
Well, this is it, isn't it? 11/11/11 coming up in just under an hour's time. And this is when the nation used to halt for the 2-minute silence and the service happened here. Then after World War II, it was moved for convenience reasons to Remembrance Sunday. And the 11th sort of faded away a little bit until 34 years ago, the Western Front Association, of which I've been a member since the 1980s, got permission to hold a service here on the 11th if it didn't coincide with Remembrance Sunday. So for the last 34 years, there's been a service here, and interestingly, around the country. There'll be railway stations today at 11 o'clock that ask people to stop for 2 minutes. So the 11th itself has come back into significance, and I personally think that's a very good thing.
Resurrected by the Western Front Association, which now have around 6,000 members. Today we'll also have a representative from the island of Niue. The Niuean forces, 150 men volunteered. An island has a population now of just 1,600. Someone knows someone who served in the Great War, of course, on that island, showing just how vast the empire's involvement was in the Great War.
Yeah, I mean, it was a world war. There were so many countries involved in it. And it's very interesting, 40% of the entire contribution of World War I and World War II came from the Empire/Commonwealth, and all of them volunteered. None of them were pressed into doing it. So, no, we do remember very, very much the contribution of the Commonwealth, and that's why here on Sunday you saw the ambassadors from nearly 50 countries laying wreaths.
And Nigel, you spoke about railway stations. I think for Armistice Day, that sense of civic community is so important. We'll also hear about PALS battalions. We'll hear about football teams commemorating this day. There'll be representatives from the Football Association here as well. It demonstrates really just how the entirety of society was involved in that process.
Yeah, I mean, one of the fascinations of World War I, it's the first time we have a large-scale civilian army, initially volunteers, then of course conscripted in 1917 and 1918. And yes, the whole country was involved, the whole country suffered loss. I think there were about 3 villages in the whole of England and Scotland and Wales that didn't lose someone in the Great War. So, yeah, I mean, when I was young, the shadow of this still hung actually pretty heavily. Less hope perhaps now, and of course there's no one left from World War I, and even our World War II veterans are getting older. But what I've noticed, there seems to be an uptick amongst the younger generation that are turning up to services all over the country. Interest in this is far from gone.
And also we're hearing from the Prince of Wales, encouraging people, young people in particular, to wear a poppy. Now, Nigel, obviously, Remembrance is also quite a private moment. During those 2-minute silence, what you think about and who you think about is often for you and you alone.
Yeah.
But what are some of the stories and some of the memories that you recall during this period of Remembrance? Are there particular theatres that you focus on?
Well, what I think about is my grandfather's company going on a night raid. 58 of them killed or wounded, and I've actually been and visited the spot, and my grandfather was badly wounded, and there are the graves of lads he was with who were killed right next to him. So I think, well, I'm lucky to be here. That's a very personal way of looking at it, but I just feel I'm very lucky to be here.
We can hear the bagpipes warming up in the background now. Do you get the sense that people attending here will have that moment of realising how lucky we all are to be here and to reflect on what those men and women sacrificed for us?
Well, there's no doubt that had it not been for the 2 wars, despite their absolutely vast cost to us and many other parts of the world, we would not have lived with the basic freedoms that we have for the last 80 years. It's just as simple as that, and that's why it matters, and that's why it'll go on mattering.
Nigel Farage, thank you very much for your time this morning. Well, Miriam, Olivia, you've heard it there. Everyone will have a moment today to think about and reflect on members of their family, members of their community, who were related to those or knew those who fought in the Great War. When the guns fell silent in 1918, so too shall we fall silent here at the cenotaph in the 11th hour.
Well, thank you so much, Charlie, and thank you, Nigel, too, for that really personal interview about what remembrance means to him. Well, let's cross live to GB News' Northern Ireland reporter, Dougie Beattie, who joins us now from Belfast.
Yes, appalling weather here in Belfast at the cenotaph at the side of Belfast City Hall. No pipe bands getting warmed up here yet. In fact, they're building a Christmas market just in the grounds of the City Hall, just in front of me. But really, it is a very sombre and dignified day in Northern Ireland. In fact, across all of Ireland, you've got to remember that in the First World War, Ireland was as one, and in fact, there wasn't one village or town across the whole island of Ireland that did not lose young men at that point. Also, Northern Ireland per capita gives more to the British forces than any other part of the UK, and most of those come from working class areas. Now, there has been real anger here over the weekend because Labour's policy on bringing veterans back to court to face charges of what they did in the Troubles in Northern Ireland. The Labour government did away with the Legacy Act that the Tories had brought in, and they are now bringing in one of their own. The second reading of that, we will believe it will be on the 18th or 19th of November, and the new Minister for Veterans, Louise Sandra Jones, has walked herself into a bit of trouble over the weekend when she has not denied that previous terrorists of the IRA will be able to sit on those boards that examine legacy and who will be taken to court and who will not. So veterans very angry here at the moment. I mean, we spoke to one on Sunday, a Sergeant Major in 3 Para that was involved in the bloodiest battle in the Falklands War, and he talked about bringing young men behind stones to try and keep them alive as they had openly ran across a minefield to attack the Argentinians. And he talked really about his worries then and about how you had to go on in battle and be very proud of what those young men had actually done. That's the reality of war, and unfortunately now what we're seeing is these veterans being taken back to court, and Labour promised that that wouldn't happen, but really their legacy bill will protect witnesses, and this will be a major story in the next 2 weeks.
Dougie Beattie, thank you so much for that report from Belfast. And it is a reminder, Olivia, that the consequences and the repercussions of that First World War do continue today. And like you were saying earlier, it's passing further and further from living memory, but so important to carry those stories forward from across all 4 nations of the United Kingdom.
Exactly. I find it quite moving when I see, very young people in their teens wearing a poppy, and not even their grandparents will have had anything to do with these wars, and yet they do still remember. And that is because we have honoured this tradition of remembrance every year in this country.
And it has become more and more popular in recent years. Until the 90s, it was really only Remembrance Sunday that we commemorated. But since then, Armistice Day as well has had a bit of a revival and much more interest in what happened in those wars, which is it's good to see. It's something that brings our nation together.